Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a look at the Tier 4 British battleship, the Orion. And yes, this is going to be a little bit more in depth and basically taking a full look at the ship, since I did display her on the live stream, but I really didn't take that great of a look at her. I think I only did about 2 battles in the live stream, so this is going to be a little bit more in depth. We are playing on Ring, one of the newer maps, well, slightly new. There is a Langley, 4 Orions, a Miyogi, a Phoenix, a Dane, a Friant, Tenru, and a V-170 and a Campbelltown, which you don't see all too often. On the enemy team, there is a Langley, Wyoming, 4 Orions. As you can tell, British battleships are still fairly common. The Phoenix, Kuma, Kaladin, Oleg, which actually I think is that a premium? I might have to check on that. V-170 and a Wix. So going on to talking about the ship itself. This ship is a fantastic Tier 4 ship. Definitely a lot better than Miyogi. The Wyoming, I don't really remember that much about it. Oh, good lord, it's been such a long time since I played these low tiers. So overall, she is a fun ship. As you can tell, I have HE loaded. The British battleships, as probably many of you know, their HE is pretty powerful. As we will see in the port, it's very, very powerful, has a good fire chance, and does significant amount of damage. Now, their AP, and I'll show you a good demonstration on the AP as the Oleg has popped into view. Campbelltown's pushing in. Obviously, there's that V-170. That V-170 is going to be a pain for us later on. But overall, as you can see there, against a lightly armored cruiser, does pretty good damage with only 2 shells actually impacting. So very good damage-wise on the HE. Now, the ship itself, it really does remind me of the Wyoming, and this is the same for the Iron Duke, which does remind me of the New York in a lot of ways. So, very, very similarity between the two nations. I do find the shells somewhat lofty, and there we go. Look at that. I do find the shells a little bit lofty. You really do have to lead quite a bit, especially with the AP. The HE is manageable. Usually you have to aim probably around the 10 to 15 mark, depending on how fast the ship is. But overall, not too bad. But as you can see, we have just lost our Tenru, who, for some odd reason, just charged in against 2 Orions, a Kaladin, and a Oleg. The reload rate is normal for the battleship of this tier, around 29 seconds. Not overly slow or overly fast. As you can see, there was a Kaladin that decided to rush in as well, but unfortunately for him, does go down to torpedoes. And here I've actually kind of got behind this island, and now it looks like we are taking fire from the enemy Orions, and they get some decent hits. Now, unfortunately, I've lost sight of the Oleg as well as the V-170, but here's the AP salvo. That's actually really good. Probably a really good demonstration that how good you can get. Look at that, almost 11k. But I do tend to find against certain ships that the AP seems to either ricochet or tends to break. Actually, tends to break quite a bit. Now, this V-170, like I said, is going to be a pain for us. I do have HE loaded. Probably should have waited till he was a little bit more broadside, because trying to hit the small of a ship at this angle is a little bit difficult. But we do manage to land 1 shell and do cause a fire. But we have just lost our Campbelltown to the V-170. And can you guess what the V-170 is now going to do? As soon as you see a carrier, you instantly go for it. So this is what this V-170 is going to do. I am going to try to assist as much as I can, but at the exact same time, I'm not into a really particularly good situation. I think if I could, I would probably actually would have automatically turned around and started going towards that V-170, because the enemy CV is actually currently holding their fighters over our Langley, and essentially keeping him permanently spotted for a little bit. Do go ahead, see if we can land a hit on this Orion, but I probably should go ahead and point out right now, as you can tell, the guns really are somewhat of a pain, especially if you are in a hard turn. They don't really like to stay on target. Now, this captain that I have is only a 1-point captain. I think I just grabbed captain, I recruited one and just slapped him on. So obviously the turning rate on the turrets will be a lot better once you get the expert marksman on your captain, but right now this is what I had to deal with. So they do seem to obviously not stay on target. This is normal for low tier battleships, and obviously there is a V170. The Langley is calling out for help, and this is where you just wish RNGesus would give you its blessing, because I feel so bad because guns are slowly turning around. Obviously it does take a little while, and this V170 shows a lot of broadside, give him plenty of lead. Let's see, fire to salvo, trying to get the back guns in obviously quicker just to turn. The ship itself got a decent hit. He's only sitting around 2k health. The enemy CV, like I said, is doing a fantastic job keeping him lit up, keeping him contained, not allowing him to actually get his fighters out. And look at that dispersion. So unfortunately for our ally Langley, he is going to go down. He does eat 4 torpedoes right here, and obviously a Langley is very, very susceptible to any destroyers, because if it's a very slow speed and it's very thinly armored section, and yeah, unfortunately we lost our Langley. Get another hit, but unfortunately the V170 is sitting at 565 points of health, and our guns are starting to reload. And obviously the V170 is well aware that I am focused on him, and I was hoping it goes that way, but it looks like he's going to pull away, and I believe he is going to make it into the smoke screen before disappearing. And crap. Oh, and there's Orion right behind us, and just took out our friendly Miyogi, and now it's one-on-one. Now, I've obviously had very limited time to actually test how the Orion does against other nations' battleships. Obviously, most of the battleships we're seeing right now is obviously the British battleships, and I can't really say how well the Orion does against, say, the Wyoming or the Miyogi. But with the fire chance the way it is, I'd say it'd probably do pretty well. He does open up with AP. The AP, once again, is a bit finicky, at least I find. I do switch over to AP and got 4 penetration, did about 6,000, which is not too bad. But now it's essentially going to be a battle between me and him, and that V170 probably was doing the proper thing, going for cap. The V170 did a good thing about pushing into the cap, because obviously the fighter planes and the dive bombers that are still sitting over the Langley would have spotted him. So, but I think at the exact same time he probably could have helped. And look at that. At an angled Orion, we did around 8k damage. And it does look like the enemy Orion has switched over to HE, so I'm going to go ahead and turn a little bit east, because obviously I'm running into a wall and there's not much room to maneuver. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of close the distance and try to angle in. Guns are almost reloaded. I do have a little bit of time before he does get any opportunity to fire AP at me, so do have a little bit of chance. Look at that, 2 fires. And this is one thing I have to say about the British battleships, especially these lower tiers. I can't say that much about 6 through 10, but these low tiers, they are fantastic fire starters. And I'm a bit finicky on that, on how I feel about you know, battleships using HE all the time, because it's just another line, another ship that just slings HE. And AP is loaded, and we do take out the enemy Orion. And that's actually, I believe, Nope, nope. We have another enemy Orion pushing south, and I really don't understand what this guy was doing, this captain of this Orion. Take a look. He's sitting at 36k health. I'm sitting at around 18. So he has nearly double the amount of health that I do. And obviously he's very well aware of my situation. And I don't understand why he did not take advantage of this. I really don't know why, but I am at the moment a little bit concerned about the enemy V-170, thinking he might have actually turned around and assisted on taking me down, because I believe the V-170 can Invisitor. Correct me if I'm wrong. And wow, I actually knocked out one of my main guns. But once again, I really don't understand why he just doesn't push the attack. Probably could have taken me down, honestly, because I've just used up heal. I do have my damage control. He did knock out a gun. So instead, he is pushing in towards the inner islands and is essentially useless to his team, because, as you will see, nice little ricochet. That's actually what you want to do. You want to kind of have a angle. You don't always want to sit bow in, because more than likely he'll actually be able to penetrate through your bow armor, or better yet, go through the deck armor. So sometimes you actually want to kind of angle in like that to where the auto bounce mechanic kicks in, actually ricochets those shells. So something to keep in mind. But just kind of keep an eye on this enemy Orion. Our team, they are in force over at D. As you can see, D is currently being capped by the V-170, and I just, yeah, see, I don't know. I agree with the V-170 capping. It's a good idea, but at the exact same time, I'm still well alive, and I think he could have done some damage towards me. Actually, I'm gonna quickly take a look at where those shots actually went. And unfortunately, it looks like he shifted off to the right, and all my shots did miss him considerably. But, well, oh wow, that Phoenix is very, very low on health. Just now realized, didn't realize that this Phoenix was that low on health. I was asking him, I was going to ask him to actually go after the DD, the destroyer, and I now obviously realize that he's obviously very low in health and has just now gone down. But our team essentially has won this. There's one destroyer left, obviously the V-170, and one battleship, and the V-170's luck has just now almost run out. He has obviously came across the friendly Orions, who did a pretty good job. They're actually fairly full health. But once again, this enemy Orion, I really don't understand. Like, he was pushing in. I think in his thought process that he was going to go assist, and then obviously he lost all of his friends, and now he's running away. I'm going to actually end this replay a little bit short, because honestly, this is my last salvo. Was hoping to get over this island, but unfortunately for me, it does not make it. So I'm actually going to jump into another replay and show a couple things about the HE that you might actually think quite funny. So I will see you guys in just a second. Alright everyone, welcome back to another replay, and I'm going to be showing you just a couple shots from this battle. The first one is going to be against this Hakaym. I do have AP loaded, and I don't know, just for whatever reason, the AP can be finicky. At least that's kind of what I see. And I'm gonna quickly point something out after the shot. So let's go ahead, fire at a broadside for Hakaym. For whatever reason, this Hakaym captain just likes to sell broadside. And got one hit, one penetration, and one over penetration. Did about 4,000 points of damage. It looks like that's the old style Hakaym. I really like that hull. I don't like the new one. It reminds me too much of the Alba. But anyways, do switch over to HE, but watch the salvo. Just, I love this. This is actually the first time this has ever happened to me with the British battleships. HE is away, and not too bad, not too bad. Actually, I believe it's the next salvo. So not too bad on that hit. Do get a fire. But one thing I do want to point out, the friendly Isakaze and the Fujin were the real heroes of this battle. So huge props to them. Huge props to them. Alright, I believe we are at the part that I was actually thinking about. Here it goes. Furutaka showed back up. HE is away, and look at that. Citadel. So yes, the HE is actually well known, at least as far as we can tell, to penetrate and citadel very lightly armored cruisers. This includes the Tier 7 Phoenix. Apparently, this is what I've heard from a friendly ally British battleship that you can citadel a Pensacola with HE from an Iron Duke. So overall, not too bad. Okay, we're gonna jump into the next little part, which I just found rather a bit funny. Okay, so we are in the next part, and as you can see, the enemy team only has 2 ships. There is the Langley, and the friendly Langley is actually currently dropping on the enemy Langley. And I do have HE loaded, and the Langley has slowed up, and just watch this. I really don't understand how I got this. Okay, so damage-wise, we did about half. The enemy Langley does get his torps off, but we get the kill. And we get Devastating Strike. So, in essence, even though I didn't kill him outright, because I did over half of his health, and he died because of it, I get Devastating Strike. Just love that moment. But anyways, so we are going to quickly jump into the port and take a look at her in all her glory. See you guys there. Alright, everyone, welcome back to the port. And as you can see, the Orion is really fun. I really do have to say I kind of like her. I kind of wish I could go back and replay some of these low tiers. Maybe one day I will go back and repurchase the low tier battleships. Probably not, but we'll see. But anyways, let's actually take a look at her stats. Survivability, you have 42,700. Armor, you're looking around 13 to 305. Citadel, actually I'm kind of curious on the Citadel. Is actually fairly well below water. Sits fairly below water. Does have the spacing in it, as I believe I actually did show. Actually, no, it does not. Sorry about that. There it is. Here's the spacing. There is a spacing at the very rear of the ship, so it does have a little bit of space armor appearing at the rear turrets and the bow turrets, so that's something to keep in mind. Torpedo protection damage reduction is 16%, nothing extravagant. That's usual for these low tier battleships. Moving on to the main guns, you have 5 dual 343 millimeter guns. They have a 30-second reload time. Looks like I was off by 1 second. The turn times is a beautiful 56.3, and that's with expert marksman. That I did recently get after that battle, after that first battle. So very, very slow on that turn time of the guns. But moving on to the maximum HE damage, 5,900. That's insane. And a 40% fire chance. Now that's truly insane because these very low tier battleships, so like I was saying, that 40% fire chance is fantastic because these low tier battleships don't have the protection, that reduction that the higher tiers will have, such as the tier 10. So that 40% does not get reduced as much as, say, a tier 6. So definitely very, very potent. And the AP damage is 9,500. But like I said, I've had instances where the AP tends to be a little bit finicky. As you saw that first time, we got around 10k against the enemy Orion, and against that Furutaka, we only did around 4k. Now, yes, you could say that's part of the dispersion, and it is fully plausible that you can actually citadel, and you probably can, but yeah, and for whatever reason, the AP shells really do have a kind of loftiness to them, so you do have to lead them a bit more. The velocity is the same for each one, but it feels like I do have to lead a little bit more with the AP on the British battleships than the HE, so that's something to keep in mind. That's at least what I've experienced. Secondary, you have 16 single 102 millimeters. They have a 1500 point damage, 7.5 second reload time, 6% fire chance, 3.5 kilometer range. And then you have 4 dual 102s. They have a 3-second reload time, 1500 point damage, 6% fire chance, and a 3.5 kilometer range. So it's there. More than likely you're not going to be brawling a lot, so it's just there if you need it. AA guns, they're all right. Your short range does around 8 points of damage, 1.2 kilometer. You do have 4 quintuple, and they're actually these really cool looking guns. I have to say, they look really cool. Very odd placement on the guns on that. Then you do have 4 single 40 millimeters. These are your mid-range. They have average damage of 23 with a 2.5 kilometer range. And your secondaries also operate as additional AA. Average damage is 38 with a 5 kilometer range. Now do keep in mind, this is not a captain that's fully spec'd up, and I'm sure if you get basics firing training or advanced firing training, your AA is definitely going to be improved. But you will be shooting down the occasional planes every now and then. These low tier battleships just generally don't have the greatest AA, but it's something. At least you can shoot down some planes. Moving on to maneuverability, you can go a beautiful speed of 22 knots. The Wyoming, actually let's take a look at the Wyoming. It's been such a long time since I've actually looked at the Wyoming that I actually don't recall how fast. I'm pretty certain it's fairly slow, probably around 18 knots. That's actually kind of what I thought. Let's see, increase, get up to 20.5. So speed is definitely a little bit better than the upgraded Wyoming by 2 knots or 1.5 knots, but that additional 2 knots or 1.5 for that matter, as I completely forgot there, does allow you to get around the map, but obviously you're fairly slow, and positioning is always a major factor for these very low tier battleships. You're just so incredibly slow that you have to be in the proper position. You have to think ahead, or else you're just going to be in a position where you can't help your team. You can't actually shoot at an enemy, so that is something to keep in mind. But anyways, turning circle radius, 610 meters. Not bad. She's kind of a short ship, so the turning circle radius is pretty small, especially compared to, I believe the Miyogi has a huge turning circle radius. Let's actually quickly check. Once again, another ship I have not looked at in a very long time. 730 meters, so definitely a little bit smaller. 120 meters different, so does have that smaller turning circle radius. Rudder shift time is 12.5 seconds, which isn't too bad. Concealment, definitely once you get a captain with a concealment perk on him, your concealment should drop down to around 12.5 kilometers, maybe somewhere in that range, but obviously this captain does not have it. So 14 kilometers at stock. Not too bad, especially in considering your range, which I don't even think I talked about the range. 16.7 kilometers. So pretty nice, especially with that low concealment. You definitely can get a little bit closer, which would prove beneficial, just so your guns are more likely to hit. Never want to sit back in the back and fire at long range. Really don't like that. So as far as upgrades, probably get propulsion. Honestly, I think that's a grand idea to have better speed. Then you can get the additional range and then go for hull. This will obviously reduce the rudder shift time, which is really fantastic. Gives you additional health and gives you additional AA mounts. So as per usual, normal things for these two modules, and then the captain, probably going to build them very similar to a normal battleship captain. Depending on what I really feel like, I could even go for demolition expert. I mean, with this HE, the fire chance is insane, And why not? Let's make it even more insane. So this is a quick overlook of the Orion. Thank you guys so much for joining in. And if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zai Jen.